So, over the weekend, I was talking to a new graduate who was trying to get into data and analytics. And they said, Tom, I want to get into the industry, but every single job seems to be posting for a data engineer or a data scientist. I'm not technical enough to do those roles, but I'm trying to find a really good data analyst job that I could start in so I could start to build out and develop my skills. Part of this video was some of that discussion that we had about other potential avenues that he could look at so he could try to expand and develop his technical skills. My name's Tommy Hunter. I help build a $5 million data analytics consulting agency. I've helped train over 6,000 different consultants for the big four over the last 15 years. If you like this type of content and you're interested in it, please sign up and subscribe and like the video. Here's the deal. Everybody wants to be a data scientist. Everybody wants to build the next sophisticated model and the next chat GPT. But the reality of the situation is that there's tons and tons of technical data roles where people are begging for very basic data skills and they're paying great salaries. They've got lots of career opportunity to grow, and there are a lot of remote jobs. So let's kind of talk about some of the 9 hidden jobs that you don't really hear about when you're talking about data specific roles. The first job I like to lovingly refer to as a data janitor. Companies are dealing with way more data than they know what to do with, and they've got all of these different databases that are trying to talk to each other. And somebody that really doesn't sit as an intermediary to make sure that that data is clean and sophisticated so that the data coming out of those pipelines can actually be handed off to someone like a data scientist that they can use and ingest the data in their model. It's a type of job that requires a lot of low level analysis. You're going to get your hands dirty with a lot of the organization's data, and you're going to realize just how unsophisticated it is. And it's your job to try to build and apply the rules that's going to make that information actually usable for them at the end of the day. This role is called an analytics engineer. It's not a complicated job. It doesn't require a lot of sophisticated coding, but as you're going to see, right, it's something that a lot of companies need and they pay great salaries to do it. Let's jump over to LinkedIn and Glassdoor to try to see how much they make. All right, here's our analytics engineer. I just typed this into LinkedIn just to try to pull up some of the different specific roles that people are looking at for here. Um, right off the bat, the first thing I'm seeing is there's over 6,000 of these different jobs based out of the United States. And there's lots of jobs that are looking for analytics engineers that are paying, 160 plus, 270. Netflix is 150 plus. Senior data analytics engineer, 120 to 140 for this company. Roles at Amazon, roles at Airtable, roles at Coinbase, roles at Zillow. Let's take a look at the one at Coinbase here, and let's scroll down to what this job does. Analytics engineer bridges the gap between data engineering and data science and business analytics by building scalable, impactful data solutions. They transform raw data into insights and build robust pipelines with well designed models and tools that help empower stakeholders across the organization to make data driven decisions. So, a lot of this stuff is about kind of sitting in between the different business roles and IT roles to try to help understand that data. I'm looking at skills. They're looking for a strong understanding of designing data models like star schemas and snowflake schemas. They're looking for advanced SQL skills. They're looking for knowledge of object oriented programming, good skill set with ETL, building out things with tools like DBT, Airflow, or something similar, some familiarity with GitHub, the command line, and building out development workflows, some extra knowledge around things like Snowflake and Databricks to help look at large frameworks. This is a little bit more of a technical role, but you can kind of see they're expecting a little bit more programming skills that are in here. This would definitely be a great starting point. All right, let's talk about number two. So, data analysts spend a lot of time trying to understand their customers, understanding what buttons to click, what other products that they could potentially recommend to them. But there are roles that go out and go help support internal tools like ERP systems or Salesforce or CRM systems, where understanding that data and interacting with large teams, specifically the sales team, to try to understand their performance is also really impactful. Building and developing the skills to help extract some of that information and do something interesting and compelling to give leadership a good idea for how long it's going to take for sales to close, what the sales reps are actually working on, how they're actually managing and executing their team is actually really compelling and can provide a ton of value. business intelligence dashboards to help support and understand what these roles are actually doing in the back end can be really impactful. That job is called a sales operations analyst. Their job isn't necessarily to try to understand everything about the customer, but it's really to understand about what's actually happening in the sales function of the company and trying to provide some really compelling and good insight about what they do on a day to day basis. Let's jump over to LinkedIn and try to go take a look at some of the salaries and roles. All right, first thing I see when I type this into LinkedIn, I see 550 potential roles. And the first thing that pops up, there's a $70 an hour level position that's just looking for sales and operations. You're going to be part of the sales department, doing cross functional teams. Ideal candidate demonstrates strong analytic skills, good communication, adaptability, can align within the organization. They're looking for proficiency in data analysis and data entry, some basic analysis skills in Excel, Google Sheets, Google Slides, presentation skills to talk about presentations overall. I think if you were able to build out and develop some skills around SQL, you're going to be able to take that into a role that's going to pay a little bit more. Let's look at another one here from Zillow. As a sales operation analyst, you play a pivotal role executing the compensation planning and the performance for their markets team. This role is an expertise in sales operations. They want you to have a strong analytical mind, ability to collaborate cross functionally, and the ideal candidate's highly organized and possesses strong attention to the detail. Drilling down a little bit, they're looking for 5 years in sales operations or business operations, some experience with using SQL to manipulate and analyzing data, but they're not asking you to be an expert or highly proficient in it. Picking up some strong skills in tools like Salesforce, Tableau, and Excel, which are easy to do. There's great online trainings to do these things in, would help supplement and augment the role. And that's a role that can net you 85 to 145K. All right, let's go to the next one. In a lot of organizations, they're spending money left and right, and they really have no idea at a granular level where that money is ultimately going. Sure, they've got accounting systems to try to understand how it gets classified to get back to the client, but they don't really understand how it's being used. So, for example, they might buy 100 licenses of a specific software and not realize that only one or two are actually being used within the company. So, in order to try to manage that, a lot of times people will hire a specialized data analyst called a finops analyst or financial operations analyst to try to help them pull down information from all of these complicated accounting systems and ERP systems and mix that together to get a better understanding of what their EBITDA or their earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization actually looks like. This is the type of role that is the right hand to CFO, and they're right in the C suite trying to help advise on tactical decisions about how finances and the business actually gets done internally. All right, let's go take a look at LinkedIn and look at their skills. All right, so here we are for our FinOps analyst. The roles that we're going to look at here, just scrolling up and down through LinkedIn, there's over 3,000 of these positions. And it looks like a lot of these jobs are paying, between 80 to 100K. Here's 80 to 125. Here's 70 to 160. Here's 85 to 180. So some pretty good salary and upward mobility here. The first one that I just have up on the screen, it looks like it's potentially a remote job. Full time, what are you doing? So, this role, you're actually working in the cloud environments and you're helping the finance team and the IT team drive down their cloud costs. Even though this one is just an entry level position, it looks like you're working closely with many internal teams for engineering, finance, and ITAM, which is one of their internal groups. It looks like you're collecting and validating lots and lots of billing data that's happening inside of the cloud environments like AWS and Azure. And you're trying to help them identify how to actually cut those costs and help improve the profitability of using a lot of these cloud tools. Going further, looking at the skills, it looks like there's a big emphasis on understanding database management, working with customer relationship and satisfaction, the ability to multitask with complex tasks, and you're looking for the ability to execute within all levels of an organization. So they're only looking for 1 year of experience within finance, which is nothing, and just a regular bachelor's degree, experience with Excel, you know, being able to break into some of the AWS, Azure, GCP environments, which you could pick up with a pretty basic certification. And you could pick yourself up an 80 to 100K level job here that's fully remote. All right, let's get on to the next one. Okay, for the next job, companies are terrified of getting sued. They sit on tons and tons of sensitive data and they have to be compliant with lots of different regulators, our GDPR, CCPA, some of the AI regulations that are constantly coming out. And what they need is a team that understands what those rules are and how to actually go downstream and apply them to the data. These types of data analysts are called data governance specialists. It doesn't sound exciting, but you're not writing policies about how that data works on the back end. You're trying to help your company be compliant and help establish that they're going to be able to play by the rules when they work in a new country. All right, so here's a data governance specialist. It looks like this is a remote position. And what this company and what this job is doing, they want somebody on their team to help ensure the quality, consistency, and usability of all of their data assets. So it's really monitoring and cleansing and preparing data. As a specialist, you're going to become knowledgeable of multiple applications that they use internally. Help develop Power BI reports, which is a type of BI dashboarding tool. You're going to work closely with different business units to help facilitate data cleanup. A lot of the different functions in here are talking about supporting and providing education around why data governance and using best practices are helpful. And then when we look at the qualifications, looks like they're looking for people that are close to 2 years with working with data management roles or having some kind of technical experience. So if you certainly start to develop some SQL related skills, or you have, an IT type of background, even if this isn't super technical, but you could at least demonstrate your ability to do things within a database and use SQL, I think you would be a perfect fit for this type of job. But you need to be proficient in Power BI, which is a business intelligence tool we talk about a lot, and SQL, which is another one of our transformation tools, and Excel. So I would not think that this job is particularly difficult to do. And at some of the lower levels, it looks like you can pick up, high 70s to low $100,000 jobs just at an entry level position within the US. All right, let's get on to the next one. Hey, in case you haven't seen this already, we're going through 9 different jobs, but I wanted to hit the stop button. I'm a new channel. Please like and subscribe our content. It's incredibly helpful for us to help build out and grow. If you're looking for more information, I have a whole entire free course that's built out specifically to help teach people data analytics and help break into the industry, then also how to use and apply some of these tools at more advanced levels. Please feel free to look for that in the links below. That's going to be our free school community that you're welcome to join anytime. And please, if you like this kind of stuff, please like and subscribe. All right, next up, a really solid, great remote career is a data engineer. So, in case you haven't heard of this before, there are tons of jobs that sit in the cloud where you're constantly interacting with databases and helping company kind of collect requirements and work with really complicated sets of data. That data engineer is not as sophisticated as a data scientist. They're going to be working on building out pipelines to help move data from one place to another, organize that in the back of a company, do some more sophisticated things with that data in terms of cleansing than a typical, data governance or analyst might do. And they're going to specialize more in building out some of the coding and the pipelines for it. But this job is incredible if you can get one of these and you have some technical skills, especially if you're already a data analyst and you're looking to level up some of your technical capabilities. There are some really great data engineering jobs that are out there. Let's go take a look at some of these roles. All right, so here I am back in LinkedIn again for data engineer. I see that there's over 1,000 of these roles that are just paying over 100K. Looking through some of these positions right off the top, I see a lot of these are hybrid positions or remote. Netflix is paying over 170K for some of these roles. There's senior directors of engineers looking for 140K. Temu, Coinbase, lots of great staffing positions. I'm going to go to Temu here. It looks like this is an entry level role. They are looking for somebody that can help them build out some business metric frameworks, analyze business processes in their data sets, formalize analytical frameworks, translate some of the business needs into their data requirements, and then build that. They're looking for about 3 years of experience. They want you to have really good data modeling, warehousing, ETL, and SQL skills. They want you to be self-motivated, a strong communicator, and they pay up to 300K. Let's go find one that actually talks about what a data engineer does. So I'm going to click on Netflix. Data engineering at Netflix is a role that requires building out systems to process data efficiently to help model the data to power their analytics. This solution can range from batch data pipelines with business metrics. They want to look for data engineers that have a good understanding of large distributed systems, which is basically part of the cloud. You can separate a lot of your databases across many, many, many databases. So all of your users aren't querying one place all at one time. As a data engineer, you need to have strong communication skills since you need to collaborate with the business, the engineering team, and the data science teams. It's a culture of learning, and this stuff moves fast. So you really do need to get good at it. Who are you? We strive to write elegant code. They want proficient one programming language. That they want you to be proficient at one programming language like Python, comfortable working with SQL. They want a good background of distributed systems, software engineering and data services, and data modeling. They want you to be familiar with big data technologies like Spark. I think this is a great position. They're offering an excellent salary, especially for a role that's completely remote. Um, just by building up and honing in on your SQL and Python skills, this could be a great career starter for you. All right. If you are on the people side of things, like HR, there's a lot of really great data analyst roles that are out there as well too. Just like the rest of the company, HR systems are super complicated. They work with a lot of very sensitive data. There's constantly strange things that people are doing with their payroll all the time, with new employees coming in and out and leaving the company, different types of payouts, different types of bonus and sales compensation accruals. So, to get really good at HR analytics, right, you want to specialize just on HR related systems. So, we're going to jump back over to LinkedIn and go take a look at some of those roles. All right. So, what I typed into LinkedIn here to get this search was people analytics. And what this job is specifically looking for is that specialization within HR. There's lots of consulting companies that work with this type of stuff. It's called different names. Some is HR, human resource analytics. I'm just going to take a look at some of the things that popped up here. But there are definitely lots of positions that do this. So here, Datadog, they're looking for a people analytics data architect. They're paying 110 to 150K, hybrid position, so remote and part time. What do? You build and maintain data models using analytics tools. So DBT is a tool we've talked about before, data build tool. Snowflake is another tool like SQL that can help capture core people concepts. So, how many people are in the organization? How many employees are there? What are they moving in between different practices? Are they in some kind of recruiting funnel? What is their performance history when you look at their skills over time? And your job is to partner with central analytics tooling and HR systems to help build out really solid data pipelines, ETL pipelines, for various different HR sources. So this particular team uses Workday, Greenhouse, Docebo, and your job is to define and maintain a metrics layer to power all of these dashboarding tools, Tableau, another business intelligence tool hiding in the background, to help ensure the integrity and reliability of all their data assets and catalogs, help implement some kind of security model that helps protect some of the sensitive data that's hiding behind the scenes. Who are they looking for? So they want somebody that has 3 years in some kind of analytics or some kind of data engineering role, which are two roles that we've actually already talked about. Somebody that has advanced SQL skills. They're comfortable working with different data models. They've got experience with cloud data warehouses, as well as ingestion and orchestrating different tools. They have experience working with and building out BI and dashboarding tools such as, you know, Tableau and Looker, and lots of these other business intelligence tools. And they want you to be able to kind of translate some of the people needs into your solutions. Salary wise, I'm seeing over 110K, 125K, 80 to 155 for a senior manager. I'm going to change this people analytics term. And just to follow that up as well too, one of the searches I did was I just typed in under quotes Workday. Workday is a really popular tool that companies use for their HR platforms. So looking at some of these positions, you're going to find that there's a lot of data analyst roles that are hiding under the guise of some kind of Workday related specialist. So here's one that pays, 95 to 175K. They're looking for a manager. What are they looking for? They're looking for somebody that's going to be able to translate their enterprise people into a Workday solution. So build out specialized Workday environments, enable the organization to improve the employee experience as they kind of go through onboarding. They want you to have some experience specifically with Workday, analytical troubleshooting skills, getting some certifications in Workday, being able to understand HR processes, benefits, talent management, all sorts of really interesting and compelling things that are pretty easy to pick up on some of these online platforms. All right, the next role is about marketing. Sales and marketing have always been tied together, but what you may not appreciate is that data is one of the engines that's been powering marketing for the last 20 years. The reason is because if you can tag your customer in different aspects of your websites and your social media, you can actually retarget them on a lot of different advertising platforms to try to help serve them up the same information in a different way and get more specialized about who they are so that you can try to capture their sale. This is a concept called retargeting, and it's one of the most powerful and cost effective methods that businesses have to reach out to their customers. Marketing operations is all about how do you actually take the fine tune aspects of all that data you have and actually build something super compelling and cost effective for a business to try to reach out to their customers better. Let's jump into LinkedIn. All right, so here what I did was I typed in marketing analysts, and these are data analyst related roles that are also tied to marketing. Just looking through some of these things, it looks like they're kind of ranging from 75K all the way up to 160, 140. Looking at just this one from University of Maryland, they're hiring a data analyst who understands Excel. They understand Microsoft Access, good understanding of Excel macros and VBA, which is Visual Basic Application, which is a type of coding that you can do inside of Excel. And some of their qualifications are just a bachelor's degree and a couple of years of experience with data analytics. This could be a great entry level position for somebody that could really showcase a great portfolio of things that they've been able to build. I'm also going to look at this data analyst role at Clover Health. Okay, so they're looking for somebody that's going to be able to understand their data systems, and they're going to be able to help show long time frames and their ability to work with lots of different reports. They're looking for somebody that's familiar with SQL. They can navigate a data warehouse and data files, so they're good with the database. They can do some analysis just in SQL, spreadsheets, and Python and R. They're going to be able to provide some really good, compelling opinions, and they're going to be able to communicate and work well with teams. So this looks like a great role that's remote for 120 to 160K. All right, as we've kind of talked about so far, companies have tons of complicated data that they're working with. There's data quality issues. There's different contexts that they need to consolidate, different levels of accounts and records that are exactly the same. And this all kind of falls underneath of a large bucket called master data management. It's about having really good, really compelling and accurate data at a pretty low level. And it sounds a little bit tedious trying to fix all of those bad records. But the reality of the situation is that companies inadvertently spend millions of dollars accidentally spending money on bad data. This isn't the sexiest job that you're going to be able to find on this list, but I will tell you that these individuals are very highly paid because they do a test that not a lot of people want to sit down and go through the details and actually do well. Let's go jump over to LinkedIn and go take a look. I filtered just for the word master data management here on LinkedIn. I see a lot of different things start to pop up, but I see some positions at Deloitte that are going for 110 to 180K, some enterprise master data management leads, senior consultants in master data management. I think this could be a good one for us. So this is a remote role that's specifically for consulting. And it looks like some of the things that they're looking for as a senior consultant, you're going to work with the business to do due diligence, design, creation, documentation, end user requirements for new and existing customer applications. Selected candidate will have the ability to assist with high quality delivery of systems. Your position is 20% project management, 50% analysis, 30% technical, or drawing up technical product reference documents. You have to have a proven track record with senior management executives. And they're looking for somebody that has 5 years of experience in consulting, a bachelor's degree, the ability to travel maybe 20, 30% of the time. Technical skills, web services, ETL, SQL, Force.com, batch, and CSV integration. So this is a bunch of these things we definitely talk about and we kind of discuss. But your job here is you're trying to take a lot of this really complicated cloud-based data that integrates with all of this healthcare data and start to try to clean up and consolidate this. It's all about transforming that data at the end of the day. All right. And lastly, in our list, one of the big roles that I want to talk about is the database administrator. And these types of roles existed long before there were data scientists, and they'll exist long after they're all gone because these are the people that stand up the databases and they build all the structure and all the things that work behind the scenes in order to make those things optimized and ready to run. Let's take a look at some of the things that they do on the day to day. All right. So I'm going to click on the first one here, and this SQL database administrator, looking at the role. Your job's to keep the databases running smoothly and support their users across the organization and strengthen their reliability of their core systems. As you kind of grow in the role, you'll help shape the improvements for different areas like performance and automation, help do long term architecture reviews, and you're going to collaborate with technical teams and business stakeholders that are part of your day to day. Your job responsibilities are working with SQL Server, troubleshooting issues for internal users, working with SSAS Tabular, SSMS, and SSRS as part of your everyday work, which is different types of reporting capabilities, using ETL tasks, pushing some of those processes over to Git and GitLab when needed. They're looking for about 2 to 7 years of experience, and they're looking for somebody that can communicate clearly, is good with working with on prem SQL Server environments. They can be really helpful, and they can use a bunch of these other advanced tools that can help support their career. This seems like a really good, solid 125K job. Remember, you aren't doing the advanced analytics here. It's your job just to keep the database on and the database operational. When I look at some of these other roles, like this one at McKesson, it looks like they have a role for 110 to 180K, and they're looking at exactly how they can deepen their expertise with different types of SQL environments to help them manage their database systems across all of their on prem and cloud environments. So, look, all of these are incredible jobs. And I think when people think of data analysts, they don't necessarily think of all the different roles within a company where they might have the potential to fit in at the end of the day. The reality of the situation is that you're using basic SQL skills along with some kind of reporting capability to help pass that information up and along. They're not the sexiest jobs. You're not going to be featured on any kind of magazine for doing any of these types of roles, but they pay great salaries. And there's lots of potential to do remote roles within this. And all it takes is just to get a little good at SQL and a little bit good at Python and a little bit good at using AI. And eventually, as you start to cobble together and build out a full on portfolio of all of your work, you're going to be able to start to target some of these roles. And you might have a really compelling case in order to start to apply for them. So, if you want to learn more about how to do this stuff, please apply to our program. Join our free school community. We've got lots and lots of free supplemental tutorials that you can help use to learn and develop your skills so that you can start to apply for some of these roles. We also help teach you how to solve some very specific business problems. All of our course material and everything that you're going to see from this course is going to be posted up there. And I hope to see you in the comment section. Thanks again.